Welcome to The Flowdown, the new podcast series talking service operations in the real world.
I once went into a customer and they literally had 4,000 incidents open that they'd been open for years.
We bring together senior leaders, product experts, and ServiceNow clients to do something a little different. Matt, close your ears for a minute. We get behind the marketing spiel and sales patter, just straight talking advice, opinions, and experiences from those in the know.
There's just a sea of machine-generated noise that people have to deal with.
Yeah.
Machines are great at dealing with that, so let's let the machines deal with it.
Matt, Ellie, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you
Thank you for
us.
having us.
Absolute pleasure. So Matt, your official title is Solution Consulting Manager for ServiceOps.
Correct? Yeah.
Tell us what that means, please, Matt.
Well, I come from the ops background, and I've been a solution consultant for about 10 years now. And I recently moved into management of the team at ServiceNow. And with ServiceOps at ServiceNow, I'm leading the team that's going to be taking ServiceOps to our customers.
Amazing, amazing. And Ellie, welcome. So managing consultant at Unifii, your day-to-day, though, is client, right?
Yeah, very, very busy. Every day is different. But yeah, mainly program and project delivery.
Most of which is ITSM and ITOM, so focused in that kind of ServiceOps arena, right?
Definitely, yeah.
So, usual rules apply, no sales patter, your own opinions, and kind of no scripted answers. We've got a few topics that we're going to talk about today. Let's get straight into it. So, when we talk about why you should care about automation within the context of ServiceOps, why do customers need to care? I want to get in behind why people are so excited about AI and automation. What is it? Is it the pace? Is it the fact that corporate software is catching up with the real consumer world? Is it the fact that there's going to be opportunities to take tons of cost out of the business? Yeah. Let's be honest.
Cost out is a big trend that has been a big trend. But I think also doing more with less, really leveraging your existing investments that you've made in teams and in technology, and using them better and more effectively. This platform, ServiceOps, really allows you to do that and accelerate that process of doing more with less.
Yeah, Ellie, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think, but it's also being able to make informed decisions, right? Actually using a lot of that data and actually making it actually something out of it. And
do you mean in the moment? Do you mean strategically?
Strategically, but also in the moment, right? Things like, if we're getting constant incidents all the time, being able to use that data and actually being able to speed up the process and actually, a service desk agent saying, actually, I know what we need to do with that. 2 minutes later, incident closed, done, rather than, someone spending ages trying to understand and triage and understand what the issue is, actually being able to use that information and it's efficiency, right? It's getting things done quicker. From an ITSM perspective, it's always about the desk, really, right? It's getting less away from the desk. And I had one customer who they were very keen on automation, and for them it was not about removing people and numbers from the desk. It was more about let's actually get our people working on more interesting things rather than password resets all the time.
Yeah,
and that applies to more operation-specific things like alerts as well. Alerts, especially as infrastructure and architecture of applications in the cloud world become more complicated. There's just a sea of machine-generated noise that people have to deal with.
Yeah.
Machines are great at dealing with that, so let's let the machines deal with it, and we'll just focus on what actually matters to the people using those applications and providing the service.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point. And there's a tendency to rush to turn things on, to then expect those to have the impact that the brochureware says. Matt, close your ears for a minute. But there's a level of work that goes into that as well, right? And I think a good example of that is the alert space, where often the integrations are set up to create incidents off of events or all those alerts. And that can, if not done right, cause more problems than it solves, right?
It's the default mechanism for a lot of companies, a lot of products that companies use that integrate with platforms like ServiceNow. They'll just raise alerts and you get the sea of alerts. Alerts and incidents, right?
I once went into a customer and they literally had like 4,000 incidents open, just alerts that they'd been open for years, but they were just kind of left there sitting in the ether just because no one had time to look at it and sift through it and actually do anything about it. And I think it goes back to your point with outcomes, right? Our customers need to have a focus set of goals that they want to achieve, because otherwise that's exactly it. You boil the ocean and you get too excited too quickly. And it is exciting, but you have to stay a bit focused. Otherwise, you risk those kinds of things happening.
So the integration is a means to an end, to an outcome, as opposed to being the goal of the project
what do we actually
itself.
want to get out of it? What value do we want to get out? What do we want to introduce? What do we want to improve? Rather than just saying, we've integrated, we've automated.
I think that's really important. And if we can use automation and AI capabilities to achieve those outcomes,
Yeah, absolutely, exactly.
then great.
And yeah, exactly that.
Focus on your outcomes, your business outcomes, and the business challenge that you're trying to solve for. Stay laser focused on that, and trust that the tools are going to do it. Right? We've got great partners and great tools
Thanks, man.
that do the job.
Absolutely.
Right? Just trust that it's going to work. It does.
I think the other thing I'd say is that there are also opportunities to reflect on certain processes that are in place at the moment. The worst thing we can do is automate and AI up a bad process, right? And make a bad process a faster bad process.
Yeah, bad data in, bad effects out.
First step for some people may be get Service Operations Workspace live, and that will force you to think about everything that feeds the workspace. And that structure is helping so many of our clients to go, I have only got ITSM actually, and a lot of the capabilities that I need for the Service Operations Workspace sit in that ITOM, in that operations management space. And whether or not they're using ServiceNow for that or they're using other tools for that, that's irrelevant at this point. It's forcing them to think about how I get that data into the workspace. And I think that's really powerful.
Agreed. You're immediately then solving that problem of siloed teams and systems by bringing them all to a single user experience for the service and operations teams so that they're working from the same data. And that will just surface a whole bunch of additional areas that you can go and hunt after value, right?
And it plays into exactly what you've just said, which is focus on the outcome. The outcome is getting that workspace live, and everything that feeds into that is part of the project and part of what helps you to deliver that outcome, right?
Yeah.
I think we can agree that most people see the benefits of AI and automation, right? And in the context that we've just talked about, I hope even more so. But there are obstacles, there are challenges that we're seeing clients, specifically with service operations, with ITSM and ITOM automation, with getting Service Operations Workspace live even. It's configurable, it needs a lot of data, and in order for it to be right, the processes that sit beneath it need to work properly. And I think there are a number of challenges we're seeing, one of which is securing funding to get the foundations right to enable those processes that sit on top of them to feed the workspace. I think there's timing. Should I be doing automation and AI and everything else like that now before I've gotten my CSDM and my CMDB and everything else together? And I think there's a perception that all of this is extremely complicated and extremely high effort.
So one thing that I've done with one of my clients is we actually did a short discovery phase. And actually the main outcome from that was help us build a business case so that we can take up to get funding to go ahead and actually implement and do all these cool things.
So no intention to do any work as part of that phase of work, spend a number of weeks with the sole goal of building the business plan to be able to...
And that was one of the key things that, so we spent probably about 2 months going through like, what can we actually get? What value are we actually going to get? Let's start getting some numbers in, start looking at data. What increases in efficiency can we realistically get? And we worked with them to build that business case because it was large funding, right? And I think for them to be able to go back and say, this is what we're going to get out of it. And actually, since they've gone live, we've actually been able to match a lot of what we said as well, which is quite nice.
And did they have their outcomes in mind strategically before going into that discovery phase?
They did. And I think...
It was more so a case of how do we use the platform to achieve those goals?
And I think from their perspective, they were boots on the ground service managers. And so they knew what they needed and where we needed efficiencies and so on. But it was being able to prove that back up, if that makes sense. And actually being able to say, right, this is in black and white, where we're inefficient, where we need improvements, and going back to the processes as well, right? So as part of that discovery, we went through all their processes and said, actually, you can automate this, you can do that, you can do this. Little tweaks like this will save you. Things like routing tickets to the right teams at first go, right? So instantly there was so much that didn't go to the service desk on day one because we were adding in little bits of automation here and there as well. So yeah, it was definitely process, it was data, but building that case, once that was done, it was very quick to actually then get started on the implementation itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And you potentially would have spent as much, if not more time, if you'd have jumped straight into project and delivery mode, figuring out.
Yeah, and
how
it
to
helped
best go
keep
about
us focused as well, right?
Absolutely.
Because we'd already spent that time up front, when it came to the project time, it was, right, we know what we're doing, we know what outcomes we want to achieve, and it was pretty successful.
And funnily enough, when you've got that leadership buy-in as a result of the case that you've built,
Absolutely.
any of those obstacles that we normally get moved out of the way pretty quickly.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. We had buy-in from day one, right? And that makes such a huge difference.
Huge.
If you can start showing results quickly, you're gonna make those conversations a lot easier and get that buy-in. Yeah, I mean the same thing applies if you don't mind me sharing an ITOM related one.
Please.
One of the ways that you can start seeing benefit really, really early and identify potentially those critical business services if you don't know which ones they are. Again, it all relates back to data, right? Provide the data back to the platform and let it do what it can do best with its AI and ML. So working with one of our customers, we plugged it into their systems and started ingesting events, metrics, and logs. Right? Logs are, again, one of those really, really early warning signs or sources of information.
Yeah.
Within about 2 weeks, you can start seeing clear trends of where the problems lie. And you pass that on to an operations team, they'll immediately tell you how to solve that problem. So you can then build an automation off the back of it, and immediately you've got source to solution within 2 weeks. And of course,
cool.
you've got ServiceOps to guide both the service team and the operations team.
Absolutely.
So does it kind
Providing
of
that back
build
to the customer.
that kind of run book essentially for?
Yeah,
Nice.
it could be a run book,
Yeah.
Or it could be an automated run book, right? Or the run books are a really, really powerful tool for either human-guided processes or automated processes. It is a machine reading machine data, so it's really, really good at picking up trends and anomalies in that data. And it's not data that you set certain thresholds for yourself. So in other words, known knowns. It's more of an unknown unknown. You don't know what you're looking for. So let the machine look for what normal looks like and then pick up trends or anomalies to those trends.
That makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. And what about the timing piece? So should we be focusing on automation and AI when we haven't necessarily got a fully stacked CMDB, when we're not fully aligned to CSD, and when we're still early on that maturity journey?
When I first started working in ServiceNow, which was probably about 7 years ago, it was very much do a project for 3 to 6 months and then big bang. But now I'm seeing more and more phased approaches. Right, actually, let's build the capability and release, and you're getting a lot more of a release cycle rather than one big go live at the end. And so it's all about roadmap and planning and being realistic and working with our customers to say, right, what can we do in this time frame? What value can we get quickly? What are low hanging fruit again, right? What can we start to get out there quickly to get that value? And what do we need to work on a bit longer? So it is, I think, genuinely, it's more how you phase it and plan projects, really. And it just becomes more of a, instead of having, 10-month projects, it just becomes more of a day-to-day BAU kind of thing, really.
I think one of the massive improvements that I've seen in the 4 years that I've been at ServiceNow is, traditionally a challenge has been establishing your CMDB, right? I think we've spoken about it. We introduced the CSDM to guide how you store that data in the CMDB. We've introduced service graph connectors that are designed to ingest data from external systems and store it in the CMDB in a way that is most meaningful to the platform. And that really just shortens the time to value of connecting your systems and starting to see value from that data in the platform. Right?
And what kind of value are you going to see from that data? There's customers, and we've talked about this. Yeah, context. Context
right?
is king. Context is king.
So you can, again, reduce that time to resolution from identifying an issue to solving it.
So the answer to my question of, should I be doing this when I haven't got my act together on CSDM, CMDB, and other stuff is yes. Don't let it slow you down. but the CSDM, CMDB, the foundations that we've talked about
The
will
data
enable you to
is-
take it so
yeah.
much further.
Absolutely, and it's getting customers to understand the importance of it as well. So whenever I kick off projects, the first few workshops that I do is I'll take them through the tool and actually show them how the data is being used and where the data is going to be used and what information we can get out of it, because that then helps it all click in and actually understand why they do need to spend time on getting the data right.
So it's not necessarily then you have to do a CSDM, a CMDB project, which many clients think we need to do before we can take advantage of the AI and the automation capabilities.
No. That's where I wanted to correct you. The CMDB is not a project.
No.
It's an ongoing thing. Think of the CMDB as a digital representation of the organization. Right? It's a digital copy of the organization. So your organization never stops changing. People come and go, systems change, grow,
I love
shrink.
that.
Yeah.
The CMDB represents the current state, what should represent the current state of your organization. And that's never going to change. So it's not a project.
And it's
an
so
ongoing
important
thing.
that customers understand that. I once had a client who literally wanted to stop go live because CMDB wasn't done.
Wasn't done.
Wasn't done.
It wasn't done, and it's just like, well, no, it'll change tomorrow,
Absolutely.
right? And it's getting them, once they change their mindset on that, it was just definitely a lot more flowing. But this is it.
I mean, it's easy for us to sit here and talk about how a CMDB should be that, right? But it must be very, very daunting
easy,
for
man,
an organization. Sorry?
It's easy, no?
No, well, we make it easy. But we provide a lot of tools and processes that are being used across a lot of organizations, big enterprises, that we've tested this stuff on. So work with partners and work with ServiceNow. We've got processes that we can use to guide you down this and incrementally grow that value using crawl, walk, run, for example.
Absolutely. And we don't talk products on this podcast specifically, deliberately, right? But ITOM visibility, I'm going to break that rule for 1 second. The reason it's called ITOM visibility is because that's first step, right? Is getting that data in, to the point that you've just made, Matt. Getting that data in. Once that data's in, is on a single platform, you have the context that you can then apply to the processes that sit on the services side of the service operations play. And from there, the automation and the AI really comes into its own.
Exactly.
And before we break our no sales patter rule, I'm going to pull us back and just say that
Thank you.
the point is data, right? The point is not product. The point is not ITOM visibility. The point is getting that data into the platform in a way that allows you to make meaningful decisions, to your point earlier, and to add context to the
And
process.
don't get hung up on whether you're using AI or ML. It's there. It'll do its work for you.
Absolutely. It's an enabler, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's an enabler. Perfect. Guys, thank you so much. I think the message for me is really clear when it comes to automation in the context of ServiceOps, is that the risk is low, it's high impact, and you don't have to have gotten your CMDB and CSDM and all of your foundational data in place to be able to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
However, when you do, and those maturity journeys are aligned, it's infinitely more powerful. And we're going to talk loads more about this and get into the real depths of, particularly on the operations side in the next podcast, but on both sides as we go through the rest of these episodes. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your perspectives, your honesty.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time.
Thank you.